INDIANA, that's Indiana. Ballin' like Reggie Miller, that's Indiana. I put up on my state, that's Indiana. Watch me rep it in your face, that's Indiana. That's Indiana, that's Indiana.
Hi, it's Matt from Ludivox, and today we are at GenCon 2016 with another Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
So we are in the FFG booth, and we are here with Android Mainfram, which is a game in the Android universe. And it's a game that is a board game, not a card game like Android Netrunner.
It is. It's based in the Android Netrunner universe, but it's not anything like the Android Netrunner game itself.
So how many players can play this, and what is the recommended age for this?
It plays 2 to 4. I don't know the specific recommended age, but it's pretty simple.
And an average game would last 30 minutes according to the box as well. What have you witnessed? Is it 30 minutes or more?
Yeah, for experienced players, and especially for 2, it could be about 30 minutes. For your very first game, I would recommend probably at least an hour.
So what do we do what is the story of Mainfram?
So the story of Mainfram is each player represents a runner, and each runner receives a message from an anonymous source named Naga into their Dropbox. That message is that the Titan National Bank, their security measures are down. So the runners have free access to the bank. So even though Naga is not totally trustworthy, the tip was good enough that they decided to raid the bank. So that's what the board represents, is the area of the bank. So each runner is trying to secure as much of the bank as possible.
So is it a victory point game, or do we have a specific victory condition?
Yes, you're just trying to get as many points as possible. To get points, you're going to try to secure as much of the board as you can.
How do you secure the board then?
You secure the board by placing partitions onto the board and creating zones, and then securing those zones.
So how do we do that?
You're going to do that by executing programs, which are the cards either in your hand or in the program suite, which are laid out here. The partitions are the blue pieces you'll see here. How you secure the zone is each runner has 8 access points. What they're going to do is get their access points onto the board. They'll start the game with 1 free one. How they'll get more is by burning one of the top cards from the program stack here. They can do that on their turn by placing one into the discard. Then they'll be able to place another access point onto the board, like so. Once they have a zone, you can see I have a zone set up here. Once all the partitions make a shape and all of the ends touch, that becomes a zone. If only one runner's access points are inside the zone, that zone becomes secured, and they'll flip over the token like that.
If there are more than one, if, for example, I had a token of my color here and you still have one?
Right. Then that zone is unsecured, which means it won't score any points if that's left that way towards the end of the game.
So how do we secure it? Do we have to put another access point?
Right. So if there were multiple access points for the same runner, that's still not secured yet. You would use some of the program cards like Shift, or say if I had one of my cards here, I could use Swap, and say if I played this one on my turn, put that in the discard pile, I could swap my token for this token, and then that would secure the zone, since now only my tokens are in that zone. Then all of these would flip over, and that zone becomes secured. And then this zone would actually count for 9 points, because the scoring is for each access point, I would count the number of nodes in a zone. So that would actually count 3 times for each access point in that zone.
So there are always 4 cards in the... Okay.
So there would be always 4 cards. So I would flip over once I played that, once I executed that program.
And the game ends when the draw stack is finished, right?
Correct. When the program stack ends, After the person that flips over the last card, each other player would get one more turn to play.
And what about the specific programs that we have here?
So these cards are the unique programs. At the beginning of the game, each runner has their own deck. You see there, the faces match the tokens. See that? The decks for each runner in the core game total 5. At the beginning of the game, each runner will build their hand by selecting 3 random cards, and then these are all the cards that they'll have for the whole game. So once they use one, they don't get replenished or anything. And if they don't get used, they don't get used. So once they use one, these are one of their options for their turn. They can execute one of these from their hand, or they can execute one from the program suite.
But the unique programs must be very powerful, right?
They can be, yes, absolutely.
How does it play with 2 players or 5 players? Is there a big difference in the gameplay?
There can be. I found that 2 players, since the board size stays the same, 2 players tends to be a lot more spread out. With either 3 or 4 players, there is a lot more. It's a lot more crowded, especially once people start putting more and more access points onto the board. It also depends on what cards come up for the generic program slots. If you see a lot more of the access point manipulation cards, you tend to see a lot more swapping and moving access points around. If there's a lot of building, it can be a little difficult because the board gets filled up with a lot of blue partitions really quickly. So it can be a little tricky to see what you can actually play.
Can you count partitions? So, for example, if it's closed, I think I can't do anything. But, for example, if we are like this, can I, for example, do this to cut you off?
Sure, absolutely. And then if you did that, this one would be secured, and these would still be unsecured. But so if in your example, if we were contending for this one and then you ended up putting that there, that would be a valid move in order to just cut that off. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I think you were very clear on that overview, so bye-bye and thank you. See you on Ludovox.
INDIANA, that's Indiana. Ballin' like Reggie Miller, that's Indiana.